And
By
then,
the time we moved over there, it was time for us to go home, so.
okay. Did you ever come back to that site to dig?
Well, no, not to dig. We went back later.
You went back, explain when you came back again. It was May of 2002, right?
Yes, it was May of 2002. We drove by. Nobody was there, so we went ahead and went to the Lacoste site. Because we were supposed to meet people one or the other place, and we knew that something really exciting was going on, but we didn't know what it was. My mom and I drove ahead. My dad came later on a bus, so we were looking. We drove past the Forbes, kind of looked around. Nobody was there, so we went on to the Lacoste site. Like I said, my mother and I and Jordan and his brother Philip helped set up the tent, and there was all these people there. The DeRosas weren't there, and we got it set up. And then it came out that the DeRosas had gone back to Texas to Joe's museum to take the skull back. I was like, "What skull?" And Philip started telling me about the skull. It was beautiful. It was huge. It had perfect teeth. Everything was there. It was gorgeous. I couldn't believe it. I was excited. I was just asking more questions. I asked if anybody had pictures. And Philip showed me the 2 pictures he had on his camera, and then when Dan came back, he showed me a few more. But I was as excited as everybody. I was really disappointed that I missed out on them taking it out. And I heard that Jordan found it. I heard that he had been the one that actually hit it, or hit the base. And yeah, I was pretty excited. And then Carl decided that he would take his temple group people to Utah. So my mother and I went to Utah for 2 days. It was a long trip. And then we came back, the DeRosas were there, my dad was there. And I think maybe 3 days we spent on the Lacoste site. And during that time it was talked about going to Montana to look for T-Rex. And of course, who wouldn't want to go look for T-Rex? So I was kind of sitting there holding my breath, trying not to say anything. And the day that we packed up, we went to Macedona. We were all eating there, waiting on Big Pete, Linda, and Leah to come back from Florida, where they had been at some conference or something. They told me they had been at a conference. And we were sitting there eating. Joe said something about, going with everybody as part of the caravan to Montana to look for T-Rex. And of course I jumped at the chance. I said, sure, that's fine with me. My parents are okay, if DeRosas are okay with it, everybody else is okay with it. So we checked it out, and everything was fine. All we had to do was wait for the elder DeRosas to get there. So they got there, and just the tiniest little thing was mentioned about how it'd be neat if I could go along. And Linda DeRosa said, "Oh, well, she can come with us. She can stay in the camper. She can travel with us." So it was set. I went with them. I lived with them and went to Montana, and my mother and my nephew was there too. My nephew Bobby. He rode up with my mother and I. And my mother and my father and my nephew Bobby went back to Texas, and I went on with the DeRosas to Montana. Well, everybody at the time. So we were all there together.
Do you know what you were going up to Montana? Who was in charge of that dig in Montana?
Joe and Otis. I remembered that it was Otis, and I knew that Don was also part of that, Don Yeager.
Do you know why the DeRosas went up there with him?
Along for the ride, I guess.
Did they stay for a while up there, or was it a short?
Well, we were only there, I don't know, maybe, I don't even think we were there a week. Not sure, but I went up there and Philip got mono, or whatever it was that he had, and was in the DeRosas camper, and Linda DeRosa was taking care of him. And it was cold and wet and rainy, and they wanted me to stay in the camper the entire time with Leah and cook meals and clean and stuff. And I didn't really mind when it was rainy, but it got to the point where I really, really wanted to go out and look for stuff. But Philip was still sick, and everybody was going out there. And then the day that they took Philip to the hospital to get him some medicine, after they came back, the DeRosas started talking about leaving. They talked about leaving, as soon as I took Philip to the hospital. And when Philip came back and Don Yeager left, DeRosas were like, well, okay, well, we're going to leave too. And they left, and talk was made about going, making a big circle going down through California and going around to Texas, because they were going back to Texas, which was perfect, because they could drop me off somewhere in Dallas with my sister. But we ended up not going a big circle. We ended up going over to Glacier National Park and down to Yellowstone National Park and then back to Texas from there.
Do you know where they were going in Texas?
They were going first to see her sister in Arlington. We actually went to her house. Well, we went to the halls first. We spent the night at the halls and then went to her sister's. Then went to Wet n Wild, Hurricane Harbor, something like that. And then from there, they were going to the San Antonio to see Doug Phillips. See, I didn't know who he was at the time. And Leah was begging me. She said, please, 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 please come with me to San Antonio. I cannot stand, I want to go. You need to go with me. You got to go with me.
Why didn't she want to go?
She never really would tell me that, clearly she just said, you have to go with me, please. Don't leave me down there by myself. And on the way back to Texas, we stopped at a country western store that sold western clothing so that they could get denim skirts. They didn't have any skirts. So they bought denim skirts, and they tried to buy me one, but I was like, nope, I don't think so. So they bought they bought Peter and Mark their dusters, the brown dusters. And so that, of course, in Glacier, they're all standing there with their dusters. That one of the pictures on their website, I was actually over in the corner. They cut me out of it. I've got that picture at home. I meant to bring it.